Hi, my name is Toilet, and you're listening to Heartland, a fan podcast from a fan perspective.
Welcome back to the podcast. This is Editor Soile. Wanted to let you know that you're about to be thrown in the middle of Season 11 Insider Story Part 2. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode, you might be a little bit confused about what's happening. So I suggest you listen to that first, and if you have already, do enjoy the second part.
Then August 2017, I think we were talking about season 10 finale at the blog. So they commented Ty was supposed to not be okay medically. I deleted the stuff I had for the episode a long time ago, but from what I remember, he was going to pass out, and the end of the season 10, was them all, oh my God, Ty, or whatever. So I think I've talked about this before. So that's where I was getting this from, that Ty was going to collapse or something after he came back and Lindy was born, and then the season would have ended with that. And I think maybe at that point they were talking to Graham like, are we able to get you back next season? And maybe that was sort of them playing it safe because it's like, well, it could go either way. I don't know if that's the case, but like I said, looking back and now seeing how they wrote season 14 premiere, how it basically looked a little bit like this, I don't know, there could be something there. Then there must have been something about us talking about a timeline for season 11. So they said, looking at your blog now, let me clarify the timeline for season 11 a little. Ties off saving the wolves in northern Canada. Unless they change that location, I never got rewrites for a couple of episodes, so I can't be 100% sure on where the a real gunning situation is. It was in PC. Just that it's about 100% about saving the wolves from it, wherever it ends up taking place for episode 5, 6, and 7. He comes home in episode 8. Then it's Mongolia time to help with Attila, who is a fjord in real life, but on the show is Przewalski's. That always bothered me. But I think I've talked about it before, so let's just move on. Amy gets contact while miserable and lonely in Hudson about helping with the despondent Attila in episode 9, and she and Tim leave in that episode. She and Tim are entirely in Mongolia for episode 10. Tammy are reunited at the end of episode 10. Lindy is left behind with Jack, who's already watching Katie and Georgie. Peter steps in and helps, though. This daycare situation, wow. From episode 1 to episode 10, Lou is only in 3 episodes based on what I have. Again, there could be rewrites, but based on set days, it matches up right now. It could be worse. Ty could be Lou, who isn't around for her daughter confronting the trunk driver who killed her birth parents, the storyline with her old friends and their trouble with their autistic son, or the climax to her daughter's show jumping storyline, though maybe he can catch up to her in the second half of the season in the crappy parenting race. Yeah, season 11, not the best parenting season. In the episode where Caleb and Cassandra are chosen as Lindy's godparents, when Amy and Ty are talking about possibly picking them, Ty legitimately questions whether they're ready and mature enough for such a responsibility. Like 2 episodes later, Ty, the kid's actual father, is out in the woods trying to save wolves from people in planes shooting at them, while his wife struggles at home. It's an intentional comedy, really. At this rate, Caleb and Cassandra would be the best parents of the year. They probably would be. Think about it. Caleb actually wanted a job with Tim that would tie him down when he got married because he wanted to both earn his keep and be around. He'd never pull this crap before his kid was even 8 months old and leave his wife this way constantly, no matter how she co-signed it. And I'm someone who hasn't always been the biggest Caleb fan. After watching season 17, it's interesting to look back at this because we know that Caleb and Cassandra divorced and they had Carson, and Caleb had to make a decision about Carson. So interesting how we've sort of come to see how Caleb would behave in a difficult situation involving a kid and a wife or ex-wife. Really, like I said, looking back, really fascinating. I don't know anything about the second of the season yet, other than some location animal scouting, which means nothing to me, but they're really going to be testing their limits with his character for a lot of people this season, I think. Since it feels like all I do is spoiler bad things lately, here's a tease. There's something good that happens this year that has often been asked for on the Heartland Confessions Tumblr. I don't remember what this was about. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, no context there. Then I think we got an announcement about Rhys Matthew Bond getting casted. So they said Rhys Matthew Bond is Georgie's cheesy James Dean-esque crush that sort of, but not backstabs her that I mentioned before. Also, if they can get location clearance, there's going to be a school dance with Georgie and co in the second half of the season. But there's apparently issues with that, so it's not certain. Season 17, what did Katie have? School dance. So I wonder if that was sort of a leftover from this. Then I must have asked about Ty again. I'm not sure yet about Ty. Based on the last scenes I had for episode 10, he should. I mean, how do you reunite with your wife who has been miserable without you after another life-threatening experience and not go home to your damn kid? But I don't have episodes beyond that yet to say for sure. I just got some rewrite updates for earlier episodes and some future location specs the other day. They wanted to use a local high school gym for a school fall dance, but apparently there's some type of permit issue. So that never happens. So it's interesting to see that sometimes they have plans for certain storylines and then they fall through for reason or another. And then other times they have an idea, but then because of a casting issue or something else, it changes a little bit, but sort of keeps the story going still. So I find this stuff fascinating. That's why I'm sharing it with you. Speaking of rewrites, they changed some of the Tammy by a truck story I know I mentioned to you. So Ty only looks dumb, not incredibly stupid, if that makes sense. Forgetting Ty, I just really struggle with how the show, which caters to young girls so much, claims to put so much thought into role model status. Thinks having Amy continue to enable this after they had her declare otherwise last season, no less, is at all a good idea. If he doesn't come back and continues with these sort of job opportunities in general, Amy just looks so passive and submissive, almost pathetic. If Ty doesn't come back with them, it's possible he's not going to be there for the reveal of Tim's cancer scare. With how it's set up with his witch doctor slash Mongolia experience, then they wrote, sigh. It has to come out shortly after episode 10, unless they completely butchered the timeline to all hell possible, I suppose, or make his mystical revelation he has all for nothing. And as we look back, Ty wasn't there for that. He also wasn't at Marion's memorial, right? So yeah, sort of came true. Then in September 2017. I haven't read through it all, as it's hard to read on my phone, but it looks like he comes back and doesn't stay behind like we speculated based on some light skimming. He's not in the scenes where Tim's health situation comes to a head, at least how it's presently written. Rewrite, disclaimer, and all that. But he and Amy have something like in person later, so at least there's that. There's some good Jack and Tim scenes in these two episodes, episode 11 and 12, at least in my opinion. They're going to celebrate Thanksgiving, Canadian, obviously, this year on screen in episode 15, which Ty missed. And then they said, and no, Lou will not be around for it. So a lot of this season were just like frustrating. Anyways, Tim's cancer scare turns out to be something else that is less grim, but is still an issue they all have to deal with for most of the season, including Jade. I actually like those scenes with Tim and Jade. I know the whole health scare thing was a sort of messy thing, but I think it really was needed on some level for Tim to grow. And as we look back, it's something he and Jessica bonded over, so not completely for veins. Then they said Phoenix will play an important part in Georgie's jumping ventures. And as we know now, Flame has to go and Phoenix comes in and Georgie shows them all why it takes some not legal risks to impress Georgie with a dinner. And then there's a little part of the script where they go out to a restaurant and Wayne doesn't have money and they run off. Amy helps Georgie's new rich mean girl rival with the problem with her horse so she can compete in the fall finale, and in the process, a new side to her, the rich mean girl, not Amy, is revealed. And as we now know, it was all about Peyton sort of fooling Georgie to think she's a good person, but actually she's not. Then in October 2017, Georgie is going to have a jumping accident that leaves her scarred. Lou is actually around to fret over her daughter's turmoil too, at least the episode after it happens. Then there's a sample of how she's feeling and what she's dealing with after it. Also, around this time frame, Mitch secures a partnership for Heartland until Tim gets involved and nearly ruins it. Jack steps in and fixes things. Ty wants to build a house. Amy isn't quite as sure. There's some old-fashioned tact and Ty bonding over it. Well, we all know now that they started to build the house, never finished it, and it's now torn down. So that never really got to anywhere. Also, there's a lot of canning vegetables as backdrop to scenes in episode 17. That possible school dance I mentioned isn't happening, as I think I described anymore. I'll stay mum on how they replaced it though. Based on the permitting, it seems 5 different schools, including one shut down, rejected them from filming on their premises for whatever their reasons. Kind of weird. The fall finale is going to be in the season finale too. There's a big show around the middle of the season which sort of pays off the first half of the jumping arc, and then there's the fall finale at the end, which should pay off the second. I say should because I don't have episode 18 stuff yet, but it seems like an obvious setup for Georgie to get redemption. Then there's a part of the script where Georgie sort of tells Lou that she has to compete at the fall finale because anything else is not an option. It reads like something Georgie only really wants to do because of the fallout from the accident, though. So I wouldn't be surprised if, however the fall finale plays out, changes her or Lou's mind. We'll see. Then there's a little bit of quiet on that front, and then they come back in December when the season was basically half done. So they said, because I think we were talking about the ratings for this season, about ratings. I don't have all the numbers. From what I've seen, they're down significantly from last, but still probably in the area. CBC will pick it up for another season, and they did. But episode 9 had a live +7 of 637K. At least in terms of episode 9, they deserve it. honestly. They knew feedback to the Mongolia stuff last year wasn't very good, that the audience was likely just tolerating it, and they still went back to it. Eventually, even an audience as loyal as Heartland is going to start to break. Then there's a break because of the holidays. Then we come back to season 11 in 2018. And there must have been a description about episode 14 or something like that, about someone from Ty's past coming back to haunt him or something like that. So they wrote January 2018. I'm not going to spoil it, but let me just say this threat from Ty's past is going to leave a lot of you guys rolling your eyes, and it did. I never got rewrites for this Sunday's episode, so I don't know what they may have changed, but in the white script, Ty is off visiting Lily, not around the ride that Tim pushes to happen right then, and then comes back for a scene with Amy in person, not on Skype, towards the end of the episode. If they cut that scene or turn it into a Skype, then those expecting or wanting Ty to support Amy for a change are probably going to be disappointed, just given how the next episode picks up. Well, Ty wasn't there for that, so yeah, disappointed fans. It was a scene where she told him about Tim. He came back in a rush for a short time because of an off-screen phone call they had, and he was worried. Ended with a big supportive hug. Or at least would have if it had happened. Again, here we can see how they tried, but then something changed. Like they said, though, by cutting it, they pretty much got him supporting Amy out. The danger from his past nonsense kicks in next episode, and the focus in terms of their relationship goes back to him, his sub story, what it could cause, etc. Honestly, even the Ty wants to build a house stuff later in the season is heavily steeped in his issues and why they're driving him to want to do it so badly. Then there must have been something about some big family secret or something like that, and we were speculating on the blog, so they said, my hint for the family secret, stuffing. Someone has it, people need it, but there's a catch. It's not even close to the main trauma of the episode. So those were all the notes I had for season 11 that I had saved for later to sort of see what would happen, how it would change, and how my perspective would change over time. And now looking back 6-7 years later, it's easier to read than it was back in the day, especially knowing that we got more seasons and some things got better and some things were dealt with. And Amy's character, for example, is in a better place in a way. Don't hate me on that, but I just think that with season 11, I just hate seeing her going through all of that. So I wasn't a big fan of what was happening in this season. There were some good things, obviously, but it wasn't my favorite season. Do you want me to do this for season 12? I still have those notes as well. Let me know. And yeah, I hope you liked this episode. I hope you found at least something interesting. I'll see you again in the next podcast episode. Till then, keep your noses clean and your powder dry, as they say. I'll see you soon. Bye.